Konnichiwa, Minasan. I'm virtual YouTuber Yukio Okami. And in today's video, I'm gonna be telling another ghost story from Japan. So I hope you guys like it. Strange incident near the cultural festival. This happened when I was in junior high school. I was the assistant manager of the art club, and we were getting ready for the cultural festival that was coming up in a few days. The captain of the club was a childhood friend of mine, but his hands were full dealing with the other club members. As such, as the assistant manager, it was up to me to deal with all the other committees, asking them where they'd be placing the exhibits, and how many posters they'd be printing, and what floors they'd be on. Basically, I relayed all that information to the captain. Around this time of year, club activities and committee meetings meant that all the students were extremely busy, and so the school naturally was full of excitement. As things got livelier, students returned home later and later. No matter how serious we got about it, or how much the teachers tried to help, this was something that we junior high school students had to do ourselves, so things rarely ever went according to plan. One day, just a few days before the festival was to take place, it was already pitch black outside, but we couldn't leave until all the exhibits were in place. It was long past home time, around 6 in the evening. Those from the sports clubs were starting to make their way home, but us art club members remained. We were almost done with the exhibits, and it was dark outside, so the captain and I decided it was time to go home. We went about our usual routine, the captain checking if all the windows were locked in the art room, while I went off to the staff room to let our head teacher know we were leaving, and if he could please lock the art room door. He would check everything else. That was how it always went. The lights in the hall leading to the staff room were dim, and the school seemed completely different to how it is during the day. But I wasn't afraid, because my friend, who I'll call A, from the kendo club was helping us out and joined me. Every single day, when he was done with kendo, he came running over to see us and help with various things. When I was done talking to the teacher, all that was left was returning to the captain downstairs, and then home time. Or it should have been, but when we got back, Ace spoke up. I think I left the printouts I need to show my parents in my desk. Ace's desk was a mess, and everyone knew it. Whenever he got a printout, it would get shoved into his desk like a piece of trash, and by the time it showed its face again, it was all crumpled and torn. It was always like this. Even so, for some reason, I remembered the sheets this time, and looked at us like he really wanted to say something. Go by yourself, we'll wait for you down the front. What? No way! And you saw Tita upstairs before, right? He's gonna say something if he sees me again. I know it. The Tita I referred to with such disdain was one of the school's teachers, who wasn't very well liked. He always got into arguments with the students and made fun of them, and never let up. That was the only way he ever dealt with anybody, so nobody liked him. Because, for better or for worse, he always judged people at first sight, and quickly grew upset about things. Even when we went to alert the head teacher, he was always like that. He knew we were staying behind late because of the cultural festival, but still, he criticized us. Hey, what are you kids still doing here? It's past home time. Did you get in trouble again? Is that why you're here? He acted like he knew nothing about what was going on, and just grinned. It was probably all just one big joke to him, but to us, when we were seriously going about our work, It was just a waste of time that we never get back. It might seem brash, but one time he kept both A and myself behind after cleaning time to listen to some story with no end. And because of that, we were late back to class and got everyone in trouble. We especially didn't like him. If you want to avoid him, you'll probably have to take the stairs at the other end of the hall. Our school had a garden in the middle, and the halls and classrooms surrounded it. For that reason, it wasn't impossible to avoid the staff room, but it would mean taking the long way around. But A still seemed to want to take the hall. But the lights down there are still broken, aren't they? What? No way! A's voice echoed throughout the art room, and I clearly remember the captain's eyes rolling. Yeah, the school was creepy at night, and it wasn't like I didn't feel scared too, but in a childlike way, the school feeling so different at night was kind of exciting. A's problems were his own, not mine, but in the end, the captain gave in. In the end, the three of us made our way down the dark hall, relying on the light from outside. A cowered between us in the middle. The school without any light is somewhat new and refreshing, huh? He was so scared that he refused to go along, but now that people were with him, he was happy and joking around. It took all we had not to kick him to the ground, angry at his laughter. We went to shove him, but he dodged us. When we reached the end of the hall, we turned left and our classroom was just a little further ahead. However, when we saw what was in front of it, all three of us stopped. There was a large drum, and near it, a giant doll that could fit several people. Ah, that's the thing those guys are gonna use for the cultural festival. The performance from those guys, you mean? The captain and I were childhood friends, from the same elementary school, and A was from a school in the next district, which was how we became friends. But our junior high took students from 3 different elementary schools, and each of them had their own cultural music and dances. We learned them from the elderly as kids. And each year, one school performed their dance at the cultural festival. This year, it wasn't ours or A's turn, but the other schools. And the stuff they used was placed in the hall before our classroom. They practiced in the middle of the garden, so it must have been easier for them to just leave the stuff in the hall. What did you guys learn? The captain asked A. Us? The flu? But I didn't understand it that well, he cheerfully answered. What about you guys? A Kagura dance, I guess, I said. Ours isn't very interesting. Their performance this year is probably going to be much bigger. I'm kinda looking forward to it. The 3 of us curiously looked at the drum and the strange doll. The printout! The printout! A suddenly remembered and ran into the classroom. Bong. A low, deep sound echoed down the hall. Oi! Hey, don't be an idiot and kick down the drums, the captain complained. But A turned and looked at us. His face screwed up like it wasn't me. By the time we realized he wasn't lying, it happened again. Bong. It sounded like a drum being hit. It wasn't a strong sound, but it was definitely a drum. It echoed down the hall again. This time, nobody was near the drum. A was closest to the classroom, and thus the drum while the captain and I were next to the doll. None of us could have touched it. A strange feeling washed over me. There was a pressure in one ear, like the sound of something far away, and at the same time, a pain that was like a buzzing in my ear. It was the ear facing the drum. Nah, I mean, these types of things happen all the time, right? Nothing to be worried about, A said quickly, mistaking my confusion about the sound in my ear for fear, no doubt. But as he was talking, he was interrupted by yet another sound. Bong. Again, the drum echoed. Once or twice, sure, but 3 times was more than coincidence, and a little difficult to believe. We bolted for the classroom. We turned the lights on, and the other 2 clutched their chest, but the distant sound in my ears still bothered me. I thought that maybe if I ignored it, it would go away, but the buzzing started to get worse, and I grew scared. Somewhere far away, it sounded like a bell ringing. Hurry up and get the printouts. Yeah, hang on. Crap, when was this homework from? When A tried to pull a sheet out of his messy desk, everything came tumbling out. There were school newsletters from God knows when, and the other printouts all over the floor. Again, the captain rolled his eyes, as though to say, "Give me a break." But then something outside caught his attention. "Hey, do you hear something coming from the hall?" he asked me. Huh? No, I don't hear anything. I couldn't tell him about the ringing bell or the buzzing in my ears. Besides, A looked even more afraid than he did. I did my best not to focus on the sound in my ear. Ah, here it is. I got it. A found what he was looking for and frantically smoothed the wrinkles out. He grabbed everything else on the floor and shoved it back into his desk. Finally, this time we could go home, I thought. But then A stopped before the door and wretched. Annoyed, the captain stared at him. What is it now? A looked fearfully down the hall. No, wait. Don't turn off the lights. You mean we gotta go past the drums again? If not, then we have to go past Tita in the staff room. Yeah, but there's a saying that going somewhere is all well and good, but the return can be terrifying. This was exactly that. The drum had only echoed 3 times without anyone touching it, but to us junior high students, that was more than enough to terrify us. But more than that, the buzzing in my ear had gotten so bad that it was like a nail being driven into my head, and I was drowning in uneasiness. Still, in the end, the drum won out over Tita, and we made our way back down the same hall again. As before, A stood between us. The captain seemed to have noticed my uneasiness and walked on the side of the drum, so I was the farthest away from it. We hurried past it without incident, and as we neared the end of the hall, the 3 of us may have been a little careless. I suddenly turned and looked to the left. At the dark window glass, I saw myself. Then A, then the captain, reflected in it, but we weren't alone. A tall, white shadow stood in the dark hall. The lights outside suddenly started flickering all at once. Then, boom! The drum echoed again, larger than before. A was so surprised he jumped into the air, but perhaps luck was on his side. On the other hand, as the lights flickered off and on, the captain and I noticed the white figure closing the distance between us. I think the captain was the most scared of all. He saw the white shadow up close and froze on the spot. From the distance, it seemed to be in the shape of a tall person, but up close, it appeared to be white smoke. It moved strangely, like that of a person, and approached us. But the drum echoed again, and when the light outside flickered, it was gone. A looked into the direction of the drum, screaming, but having saw what we saw, the captain and I broke out into a cold sweat, and all we could do was tell him to shut up. Thankfully, that hall was the farthest from the teacher's room, so the teachers didn't hear us, and after we shut A up, we managed to safely get outside. The ringing in my ear had calmed by the time I reached home, and the next day, all of us returned to school as normal. The problem lay with the cultural festival a few days later. The drum and the doll were used in the performance for the opening ceremony, and the three of us had front row seats. The moment they began, the ringing started in my ear again, and each time the student hit the drum, it was like being hit in the head with a blunt force weapon. I huddled over in the pain. My friend next to me noticed and took me out into the hall to see the teachers. The pain in my head slowly went away after a break, and after the performance was done, A and the captain excited with the large group of people. They both looked pale and sick. The captain said that the moment the performance started again, he was seeing white smoke out of the corner of his eye. As the performance went on, it seemed to close in on him, but each time the drum was hit, it was as though it cleared his vision. It's weird, but with each drum beat, the smoke disappeared, he said. As for A, he just remembered what happened that night and grew scared again. He grabbed his neighbors without thinking, accidentally worrying them. He laughed. I have no idea what that white smoke was, nor what the ringing in my ear meant. We're all grown up now. But whenever the three of us get together, we still talk about it, that strange experience we had at the cultural festival. Kia, minasan, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. This time of year is the best to tell ghost stories, so I really hope you guys like this one. Please like and subscribe and share with your friends, and I'll bring a new video soon. So until then, bye bye.